I'm dealing with tendinitis in actually both my hands. I didn't really have any kind of new artwork, any new sketches. What am I gonna show? But then I realized that this is an opportunity not to only show, some of my work, but also talk about, health when it comes to being an artist. Because I don't think that we realize how much of a strain we put on ourselves mentally and physically. And this was a eye opener for me. And I thought it would be a good way to let people in on that as well. So a lot of my work was me trying to figure out how to get better at drawing like people and faces. I was good at drawing cartoons, but when it came to actually drawing people, I struggled a lot. And so this sketchbook is just really filled with me just drawing faces and people over and over again. When something clicks, I'm like, oh, I gotta draw that. Like it's a feeling inside that I get, I'm like, okay, I want that. So sometimes I draw for reference, like this guy here was a reference. I loved his expression. He had this kind of like childlike, almost like confidence, arrogance to him. So I really love that. And then I also try to draw people who inspire me in certain moments. Like this is Matthew Cherry, created and directed the short film Hair Love that won an Oscar. And it's just inspiring seeing someone who looks like me, who's able to do something like that. He was a huge inspiration for what I want to continue doing. I was never consistent with sketchbooks. I would go from one book to another book. So I think this one probably started maybe, was 2021? But then I had to stop, again, for most of this year. One time I tried to get back in perspective because I was like, okay, I'm kind of losing my ability to draw backgrounds. I was like, okay, let me get back into testing out markers. So just trying to figure out more things again.
Where did you study or something? What's your background?
About like 3 years old, I was drawing cartoons. Ninja Turtles really what got me into it. I just would draw cartoons as a kid, drawing for my friends, drawing for girls to try to get them to like me. They didn't. It didn't work. But I would just continue drawing. And when I went to college, I became a graphic designer, took more drawing classes, but still graduated and did graphic design work. And once I did the freelance route as a graphic designer, I went to corporate America. After a while, I didn't really like corporate America anymore. And I said, let me go into actually being an artist for myself. And it has ups and downs, more downs, and then started going up once I started drawing my comic strips. And that's when things really started to take off.
What did you feel when you couldn't draw?
Oh man, that was the worst feeling in my life. Just when it comes to art, like art for me is work and it's also freedom, right? It's also what relaxes me. So to take away something that I can't do that's as a passion of mine that clears my mind up, and I can't use my hands for anything. I can't draw, I can't cook, I can't clean, I can't ride a bike, I can't exercise, I can't do anything. And I'm just sitting at home looking at the TV, like going crazy on the inside. And so I had to just try to think like, all right, can I use my mind? Can I start reading? Can I start researching? Just trying to figure out new possibilities and how to get things done while I can't use my main tool. What I did, which really helped out a lot, was I began to realize I can't rely on people. I began, hiring people and hiring friends to transcribe what I want to write. I'll tell them what I want on the page, and they'll write it. I started working with concept artists. Hey, here goes my idea. Can you draw this for me? And instead of me trying to do everything, it became me of like, okay, I'm building a small community of people who can help me get my ideas out. There's a piece of artwork that I'm doing. I had to stop doing it because I got injured. And it's a piece dealing with these 4 Black actresses, Gabrielle Union, Nia Long. There's one with Tracy Ellis Ross and also Regina Hall, a super funny actress. And just seeing the way that they're continuing to grow more beautiful and more talented, and it's inspired me to do a piece like that. And also, I haven't really done a piece where it just starred women, and so I just wanted to take that challenge on. This is when I started creating the composition for them to put it together.
When did you feel like you had to tell stories?
I would say high school. I love cartoons. I'm a big geek. I love superheroes. I love film. I love television, like characters from Community, right? Even in my art class in high school, where a project would be to draw one picture, but I would put them in panels, that kind of thing. When I started creating these comic strips, that's when I was like, okay, I can tell stories and I'm not too bad at it. I remember the first comic panel that became a precursor to all my comic strips. This is when I was still a freelancer. It was a one panel illustration, and I was on a job interview, and I was sitting down with a tie, a briefcase, and next to me was Batman. And the text at the bottom said, "The recession is hitting everyone hard." That was maybe 2000, I would say 10 that I probably did that. Almost 10 years later, I started doing full comic strips. I really like this illustration a lot here. The late Chadwick Boseman, the great Chadwick Boseman. This is Michael B. Jordan. I was like, I want to draw him. I want to capture like his essence. As you see with these illustrations here, like they don't come out so well of Chadwick Boseman because I get into my mind. And when I get stuck in there, I start thinking too hard and I start really like messing up. And so being more free and not thinking about it and just going with the flow of things helps out a lot. So again, this is me just trying to practice caricatures. I try to draw celebrities, and the reason being is that, like this one here, right? I don't know who this guy is. I saw him on Pinterest, but I just loved his pose and his expression. There was no pressure drawing him. But then when I try to go back and draw, let's say somebody like Keke Palmer and like these Beyoncés, they become so much pressure because I'm in my head thinking. And so the reason I draw celebrities so much because I'm constantly trying to break this cycle of me overthinking and trying to get it right. But once I got injured, I wasn't able to do it anymore. I feel like I lost some of my skill. I may have lost some of my way of thinking and breaking that cycle. And I had to restart all over again. Just trying to find ways to do what I can do while also being cognizant of what I'm doing. I think yesterday I did one of the figure drawings sessions, and that was about an hour-long session. It was the longest I've ever drawn. And honestly, my doctor told me, like, take it easy, maybe 10, 20 minutes. I was like, okay, I am gonna do these drawings. Let me change my mechanics. Let me not hold my pencil too hard so that my hand doesn't hurt. And when my hand does hurt, let me stop, take a break, wave it off. Once the doctor gave me the okay of being able to draw again, this was about 2 weeks ago. It was from January to September, I didn't draw. And this is the first drawing I did since my injury for 10 minutes, right? If you see the reference, doesn't like the reference at all, right? And it took another artist coming over my house and using my own tools to draw to show me things again. I was like, oh my God, I forgot that's how I'm supposed to do it, right? And it made me also realize like, hey, let me not just try to just draw it on my own again. Let me be like an athlete and do training, right? Do whatever it is to get back in shape. So once I do feel comfortable, I'm gonna go take drawing classes again. I've met so many artists here who I've talked about, my injury I sustained as an artist, and they're going through the same thing. They're going through worse things. And it makes you feel more comforting knowing that you're not alone in this, right? I always say this is my claim to fame from social media. I would draw these comic strips of myself in different scenarios and situations. And what's the interesting thing about my comic strips is that I never put my name in them. Anyone can relate to it. I want to make people laugh. I'm a corny person. I create what I want to create. In high school, this is so stupid. So in high school, I wanted to create this comic book called The Number One Stunner. Right, stupid. So there's a rapper named Baby. His nickname was Number One Stunner. And it was my character, it was myself, sleeveless hoodie on. And it's funny because he was a superhero, but he was terrible at what he did. He was supposed to like rescue somebody in a fire, but he ended up getting trapped in the fire, and now he's like in the corner, he's like scared and crying. I just realized that right now that even back then I was making comic strips or cartoons about myself and making fun of myself. And it's a way of like looking at life and being like, you can't take everything seriously. When it comes to comedy, it's all about punching up and not punching down. And so if I can make fun of myself, I'm not belittling anybody else in the process. And so I made a comic strip about me and just a made-up manager, right? He's telling me about this job, but I'm like, no, I have an image to keep. I can't do this project. And then he ends up like writing the number, how much they want to pay me. And when I look at the number, I take the job. And the job is me being the Little Mermaid, right? And this is also when the announcement came out when Halle Bailey was going to be the Little Mermaid. So it was also some great, jokes against current events. And then also there's like a stigma when it comes to the Black community of emasculating men, right? Of men being in wigs or men dressing up as females for comedy. And I was like, I don't care. This one here is based on Rapunzel. And it's interesting because even though sometimes I draw digital, I do still like going on pencil because I just like to feel a pencil on paper. A shot of me like yelling up at her, like Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair. And of course, I didn't bring the punchline for the artwork, right? Yeah, but the punchline for the artwork would have like she throws down her hair, and he yanks it off, and it's a wig. It was just funny because my mother does it, my sister, my friends do it, just taking off wigs, and this humorous of Rapunzel trying to get me to climb up on her hair, knowing that it's gonna fall off and I'm gonna fall to my death and break my neck if I do it. So kind of making fun of that situation, yeah. And this one here is when I got into doing more animation. In the US, there's this commercial about doing drugs. When I was in elementary school, it would be where this guy was holding this egg, and there's a frying pan. He's like, "This is your brain." He like cracks it on the frying pan, and he drops the yolk into the pan, and it starts frying up. He was like, "This is your brain on drugs. Don't do drugs, right?" And now you think about it, it's like such a silly commercial, right? It's like it was so intense, for weed, like because weed doesn't do that. It relaxes you, right? So if anything, alcohol is more dangerous. But I did this during the pandemic because I was a big advocate of masking up, advocate of vaccinations. So this is more of a social commentary, comic strip that's still trying to make humorous and funny.
Okay, so now I know you can draw a bit.
Yeah.
Not too much. So these are our sketchbooks that we ask our guests to draw.
Wow. Of course.
Yeah, no pressure.
Okay, what am I supposed to draw?
It's here.
Let me see. All right, since you're standing right in front of me, that's the best pose I can do right now. So, all right, cool. All right, let me just do a little, get this right. All right, let me see.
It's intimidating.
Is it really? I just thought that people were just sitting there like, oh, hurry up. Let me see this when it's done. Scan it like a Terminator.
Yeah. What's your favorite film?
Batman: The Dark Knight. Incredible movie in general. Heath Ledger's character in the Joker, the Joker, think about it, he's the most compelling villain. He's that alter ego of us who's like, if we want to be bad, we want to be bad. We don't want there to be a reason like, hey, sometimes we just want to be evil. I know some people are maybe like, no, I'm good, isn't this? Everybody has an evil side to them. Everybody has thought at one moment when they're driving, I just wish I can just collide into this car who just cut me off, right? Everybody has that. And so the Joker is like your freedom to do that. And so I think out of all the villains, he's probably the one that you may resonate with the most because of that, The movie is just the twists and turns and not knowing what's going to happen next. It's just fascinating.
Do you think about you winning an Oscar sometimes?
Absolutely, all the time. I don't know what for though. I know it's funny because a lot of people say, hey, you shouldn't let, Oscars determine. You don't understand. You get an Oscar, you're on a whole new, everybody's coming for you, right? Everybody wants to work with you. It gives you an opportunity to start doing more, right? Oscars, Grammys, anybody who gets put in that position, they end up, being able to do what they want, be more expressive. Yeah, I think about it all the time. And it's mainly for those reasons.
Do you have a speech written?
Absolutely not. I'm going to be that person when the music comes on, I'm like, hey, y'all should never put me up here. I got too much stuff to say, right? This is torture. Y'all made me draw on the spot like this. Like my eyes are all up and down. I'm just going to use my injury as an excuse. That's how you do it. It feels good to do this again, though. It really, really does. Really, really does.
9 months.
9 months, man. 9 months of pure hell. That's what it was. I think that's. I'm just gonna keep going if I keep doing this. Yeah.
Like, well, do you know when to stop?
I don't. So that's why I'm like, I'm waiting for y'all to be like, cut the cameras or whatever.
Okay, so sign.
Sign it.
Yeah, please.
All right, cool.
Close the sketchbook, put it aside.
All right.
And sign inside that rectangle.
Sign in here?
Wherever.
Where do I want to sign? I don't want to be the typical in the middle. I want to kind of throw it off and, nah, I'm just joking. I'm just going to and this is funny about my signature, right? I like adding exclamation marks on everything because I'm like, everything's exciting, everything's happy. I feel like it gives a certain emotion, so everything I do pretty much has exclamation marks on it. That's perfect. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you,
Awesome. Yes.
This is really good.
Yes.
So, it's done.
All right.